Welcome, everyone. This is Sarah Ostman from ALA's Public Programs Office. Thank you for logging on today for the Latino Americans 500 Years of History Promoting Your Programs webinar. Today's webinar is meant to give Latino Americans grantees a chance to share ideas and best practices about program marketing and to ask questions on a peer-to-peer level. I would really like to start by thanking Nicholls State University and Nashville Public Library for coming forward and offering to present. I'm so appreciative of the time and thought they put into these presentations, and I hope you all leave today with some new ideas and maybe some reinforcement of the good work that you're already doing. I want to start with a quick plug for a new grant opportunity that we have from ALA. Native Voices, Native People's Concepts of Health and Illness is a traveling exhibition that explores the interconnectedness of wellness, illness, and cultural life for Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. Public, academic, special, and tribal libraries are eligible, and other organizations are also welcome to apply if they partner with the library. You can learn more about Native Voices at programminglibrarian.org, and the deadline is November 6th. A few notes about our classroom today. You can disregard the first bullet point. However, if you would like copies of today's slides, just send us an email at publicprograms@ala.org, and we'd be happy to send those over to you. This session is being recorded, and the archive will be available later today. You can find it on the LA500 website under For Grantees, and then click on Online Learning. And finally, if you experience technical problems during the session, please send a private message to Samantha Oakley. To do that, just hover over Sam's name under Hosts at the top of your screen, and then select Start Private Chat. As I said, we have two presentations for you this afternoon. First, we will hear from Haley Johnson and Sarah Sims from Nicholls State, talking about marketing strategies they have utilized to publicize 3 of their recent programming initiatives. Then we're going to hear from Amber Williams of Nashville Public Library, who is going to talk about her library's Community Curators program, where partners take ownership of events and serve as frontline promoters. After that, we will have a Q&A. If you have questions during the presentations, feel free to type them in the chat box as we go along. If the presenters don't respond right away, we'll come back to your question during the Q&A. Our first presenters. Over the past few years, Nicholls State University has received several ALA grants, including Bridging Cultures, Muslim Journeys, Created Equal, and Changing America. In the process, they have learned to promote their programs to both their university campus and the surrounding community. Haley and Sarah are now going to tell us about some of the strategies that they have found work for them.
Hi, everyone. So glad that you guys are all here. I am Sarah Sims. I'm a research and instruction librarian as well as the head of serials.
And I'm Haley Johnson. I'm the government information librarian and the branch coordinator for Nicholls.
So just a little bit about Nicholls State. We are located in southeastern Louisiana in a rural community about an hour from New Orleans, and we're considered a commuter school, which has actually proven to be our greatest challenge. Undergraduate and master's level degree granting institution, and our library, thankfully, is centrally located on campus. And even though we have a small number of faculty, they are a very dedicated group and have been integral to our programming. Only 3.37% of our student body is of Hispanic origin, which we'll play later into some slides about LA500.
All right, so today we're going to talk about a few past grants that we've received. Ellen Drew Memorial Library has made an effort to pursue these grant-funded exhibits and cultural programming, and we're going to talk about 3 that we've received beginning in 2013. As mentioned, we received Muslim Journeys, Created Equal, and Changing America. So Muslim Journeys was the first grant that we received. We received the bookshelf, and then we had to do programming, which included 3 scholar-led discussions. And this was our first stab at doing any kind of grant programming. So our publicity efforts were kind of basic and minimal. We partnered with a faculty member on campus who wanted to stream one of the presenters live to her online class. That proved to be a really good program for us with a high turnout. We announced all the programming through promotional materials that we designed in-house, and everything was sent via email to faculty and staff on Nicholls campus. One major thing that we learned from this program was to remember what location that you schedule your events in. We booked one of the largest auditoriums that we have on campus, so that when we had a small turnout, that was even more noticeable because of the large venue. So be cognizant of what type of room that you're scheduling your people in. This slide shows an example of what we use for our publicity. On the right, you can see the posters that we created. We hung those up all around our campus. And on the left is what we put into our weekly e-newsletters that are sent out to students and faculty at the university.
Our next grant that we received was Created Equal. And for this one, we actually did a two-prong approach where we targeted our Nicholls community and also the surrounding community in Thibodaux. At Nicholls, we partnered with the sociology and history faculty. With the sociology faculty member, we showed one of the films to two sociology classes of approximately 40 students each. When partnering with faculty and doing in-class presentations, you have a captive audience. We really love doing that, so that's a tip from us. With the history faculty member, he did a summer presentation, and I would say to remember your timing because we had no one come because it's summer, and also, like we said, it was a commuter school, so a lot of these students aren't going to come in the summer for a movie. We attempted his presentation again in the fall in conjunction with the Changing America exhibit that we did, and we had approximately 45 students show up, so that was pretty good. And so Created Equal was, we had to do 3 showings of some films that they provided us with scholar-led discussions, which is great for us as a university. We have scholars at the ready. So what we did was we partnered up with a humanities celebration at Nicholls called Jubilee, and we showed the films once a week in our movie theater. We would also suggest to pay attention to the university schedule. We scheduled some of the films during our spring break, so none of our college students showed up, but surprisingly we had a large turnout from the community because they were also on spring break and looking for something to do. So that actually was fantastic. For publicity, again, we were very new still, so we designed everything ourselves, and we did in-house flyers, lots of word of mouth through participating faculty. We reached out to various departments on campus through email, newsletters, just picking up the phone, and the Jubilee celebration at Nicholls does a great, like a flyer itself, it's a brochure. And we were able to publicize a lot of our events through that. And then in Thibodaux, in our little tiny community, we partnered with our local public library for programming and publicity. We love our public library. They have helped us with so many things. So the programming at the public library included an author talk and a book signing. One of our sociology professors gave another presentation on one of the movies, and we brought in a local theatrical group which gave presentations on notable African Americans. The community turnout was very high. The library itself has a dedicated group that comes in from the community. Whether that's because we're just a small community with not a lot going on, who knows, but it doesn't matter. We had great attendance. We also think that because our programming was so different, that there was a high interest, and we also believe that the public library publicity machine is well-oiled. They did all kinds of publicity blasts for us. It was great. And then this is just an example of some of the publicity that we created in-house. You know, nothing too special. but it got the message out there. It's got the picture, it's bright colors, the dates, all the information needed, and we put these up all over campus and all over the library. We emailed this, and that's what we did for Created Equal.
Our next grant was Changing America, and this was a traveling exhibit that we displayed for 6 weeks. And at this point, we felt that we had learned a lot, so we decided, why not go ahead and expand on the actual exhibit that we were getting, and we would build an exhibit around the traveling exhibit to reflect the same time frame, but for Louisiana itself. So programming that we did included 4 scholar-led talks on the subject matter of the exhibit, and we were able to pull some Created Equal films into this programming, so that was really great with the crossover that we were able to do. We decided that we wanted to target all the programming to be held in 1 week, and we actually reached out to institutions in New Orleans for display items and our own faculty members and outside people for presentations. So we had planned to tell a narrative in the most compelling images we could find to reflect the Louisiana history. Our local university archive did not have a strong African American collection, so we figured we needed to outsource. So we originally had plans to work with another local institution, but the partnership fell through because of the amount of time and energy that was going into the exhibit, and the other institution just simply couldn't commit to it. So we understood that, and that opened up an opportunity for us to partner with 2 institutions in New Orleans nearby. One was the Historic New Orleans Collection, and one was Amistad, which is a part of Tulane University.
So once we got the exhibit up, we needed to publicize this. This was our baby. We put in so much time for this. So we really wanted to get the information out there and hit not only the Nicholls community, but again, the Thibodaux community. And then we tried to reach out to other communities, other larger cities around us. So for the university, we hit up the university newspaper. We did the university marquee. We sent out blasts in the university newsletters, and then our library newsletter comes out once a semester, and we did an entire spread on just this exhibit. So what we did learn from this is that we had all of our press releases lined up and ready to go, but our printer had told us that we should send it all through university relations. We contacted University Relations, but because of the short lead time that we gave them, many deadlines for our local news outlets were missed. So our backup plan was then to go to their websites and put the events there, but we feel we lost quite a bit of attendance because of this miscommunication hiccup. We created postcards like nobody's business. We did a large, we tried ourselves to, we unsuccessfully tried to design a postcard that it was not pretty. So what you're seeing here is actually designed, this larger postcard with the 2 images and the red and the blue. That was designed by our university printing office. They did a fantastic job. We sent it then to University Relations for final approval, and they had us add a few items, especially on the back, about ADA requirements. So note this, that because of the amount of information that had to be on the postcard, it was larger than we had realized. So when it came time to mail them, we had to pay extra because it was not considered postcard size. So if you're working with a tight budget, just keep that in mind. Tight budgets, you can't afford to make mistakes like that. We also, on the bottom here, you'll see a little tiny card with a family. Those are called Moo cards, and we designed those. That was easy. We pulled an image from the Library of Congress. It was a Dropbox account that the grant provided us. ALA provided us this link, and we just uploaded the image. And then on the back, right next to it, you can see just a little blip of information, the bare necessities to tell people what it is. And we thought that these were really great because they're kind of eye-catching because they're so different. So we printed 500 of the large ones, and I think we only did about 150 of the small ones. We handed them out in person. We mailed them. We placed them in high-traffic areas around campus and around town. We took them to library-related events. We took them to a Lewis Users Conference, which is a library professional conference here in Louisiana. And we also had them at out at the Louisiana Book Festival, just trying to hit as many people as we could. We ran out of these things so fast, it was crazy. We printed, what did I say, 500 of the large, 150 of the smaller ones. We could have done with 2 to 3 times that amount of cards. So just remember that. And then that's just a closer image of the front of the postcard. And then these were the posters that we created. We actually did these ourselves. We were not provided with any physical promotional materials other than brochures. So because of this Dropbox account with all these images, we were able to pull images from there and kind of design, just, basic design showing what it was, the events you can see on the right. We've got some upcoming events just listed. ADA information had to be on it as stipulated by our administration. So we wanted to make them eye-catching and also promote the exhibits. And so we thought outside of the box. We hung these posters up all over town. They're about 11 by 17, so they could be printed in-house. We hung them at a school supply store where we had spent tons of money for materials for this exhibit. We went to local restaurants and bars. This was our favorite. The bar owner told us to hang them on the back of the bathroom stall because that's where people would see them the most. So that's where some of these posters went. We did local businesses who hung them in their shop windows, and we really just put it wherever we could. We took these posters. And then here are some other ideas for the community. We got in touch with our local newspaper, and they did a front page article and picture on us, which was fantastic. And then that's me hanging some posters and information in our gym. So again, we did local library, bars, restaurants, gyms. We were just trying to think where our students are and who and where is our audience. So for one of the events, we had a speaker on the African American experience in World War II. So we thought it best to hand out promotional materials at our local American Legion. And then we did Facebook. We took images from the exhibits, but very specific images because of some of the restrictions we had on images that we received from the Historic New Orleans collection and Amistad. We could only have certain images displayed. So we had to be very careful about that, but we just did Facebook blasts. We changed our cover photo for the library page. You can see the skeleton that's dressed up like Santa. That's our kind of resident mascot here at the library. So he toured the exhibit, and the students really liked that. And then we did Twitter. Haley and I, neither of us are good at Twitter. So we actually, our assistant archivist who had just started, she's very keen to help us publicize using Twitter. So depending on the events in the library on campus, she would update it weekly or daily and then link it back to the library page. And the link on each tweet would refer the viewer back to the library's page created for the exhibit. And again, the restriction on what could be photographed led us to just linking the events page to the events page just to avoid any issues that we might have. And then this is our website. We don't have access to this, so we only could do very basic publicity. And all we did was have a picture of the poster and dates and times when it was closed for Thanksgiving week. We thought that was really important to put up there. Be very explicit with when you were doing these events. And if you're doing any kind of exhibit or anything where people are going to come, be very, very sure to put your hours. And then this is really interesting. Faculty support and initial response to the exhibit also helped us with publicity. And this is actually serendipitous publicity through our other marketing efforts. The faculty member here who posted this to Instagram, he just came into the exhibit and decided to make his own Instagram post. And through this post, we got so many of his students coming in, and other faculty members who saw this also came in. It was great. And then this is just the back of the postcard that we were talking about. It's got some more of the information about the guest speakers, the times, all good stuff.
Right, so here you can see our Changing America programming by the numbers. So the total number of people that came and actually walked through and viewed the exhibit, we took this from a sign-in book that we had, was around 466 people. And you can see each of our individual programs, we had one that had 25 people, 30 people, 45, and 68. So we always try and ask ourselves after the fact, do the numbers indicate a successful exhibit and program, and could we have done better? We found that the highest attendance was at the presentations given by faculty to their students, and that is because it's almost like another class for them. Sometimes they give extra points, and sometimes it's just an extension of things that they're covering in class, so it just works out that way. But overall, we found that Changing America was by far our most successful grant programming. So a few takeaways. First, you always want to learn from your previous experiences. Each new grant opportunity gave us the chance to try our hand at something new in regards to publicity, but we were also very aware of what did not work from the previous grants and can avoid that in the next one. So we started small with our efforts from our first grant, which was Muslim Journeys, and by the time we got to Changing America, we were much bolder, much braver, and we were thinking outside of the box to try and reach as many people as we could. Next, budget. Always be aware of your budget throughout the planning process and budget for mistakes. Small budgets, you always need to get creative. Partnerships. This cannot be stated enough, but partnerships are key to growing your attendance to your programs. You always want to utilize your professional relationships, such as us using our faculty at Nicholls, and your relationships with your local community institutions. Partnerships do have the potential to make or break the success of your programming, and you never know how the partnerships that you form can help you in the future with other programming efforts that you may have. Publicity, another big thing for us. You always want to start early, and you can never over-publicize. We recommend a publicity game plan be put into motion at least 5 months before the events so that you have time to design, create your timeline, do all of those things that you need to. And we suggest that around 2 months before you begin your general publicity, such as your emails, your newsletters, posting, and in the month before the event, you should target your specific groups that you would like to attend the events. So we hang posters, hand out the postcards, and you don't want to start too early because you don't want people to forget, but you want to make sure that once you start publicizing, you really hit them and get the word out as best as you can. Also, a side note, be aware of other major events happening in the community. We scheduled one opening for one of our programs on election night, actually. So you don't want to do things like that. You want to make sure you check your calendar, both within your university or your institution and your community, because you don't want to create possible attendance conflicts, because you want to get as many people in as you can. And finally, you want to remember to always play to your strengths. Recognize the areas where you are strong and play to those areas. If you know you're weak in reaching a certain community group, for example, make sure that you partner with someone who is strong in that area. Okay, and for LA500, our programming is not going to take place until next year, but we wanted to just share a few things with you guys. First, be open to expanding the reach of your programs through new partnerships. This is an example of something that happened to us. Sarah and I presented at our state conference this past year on Changing America, and we were approached by someone at our presentation who is a public relations librarian at a neighboring parish library system. She thought that what we did was really great, and she said that she was opening to partnering with us with whatever we would have coming up in the future. So we kept her information, and we are actually now going to partner with her for this Latino Americans grant, because her library system's patronage is really shifting to include a greater Latino population. And they have one branch in their system right now that's extremely strong in providing Latino programming. They have things like a story hour in Spanish and all types of programming for Spanish speakers. So working with them is kind of really getting us into our target community. So if you look slightly outside of your usual program area, you could have a perfect partner waiting to work with you. And also, you don't want to forget your old partners that you worked with in the past along the way. Just like that saying, you know, make new friends but keep the old. You never know how they can be helpful in your new project. When we had worked with HNOC for Changing America, that was a great experience. And we just so happened to see that they had hosted an exhibit called Creole Worlds, which examines Latin American influence in places like New Orleans. And so we were able to find one of our speakers that we're going to have coming in, who's a photographer who did this. They're helping us with his exhibit as well. So you never know how they can help in the future.
And then this is just our contact information. We'll do questions at the end, but we just wanted to give you guys a chance to write that down really quick. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley and Sarah. That was terrific. So we will do a Q&A with Haley and Sarah at the end of the presentation. But now we are going to move on to our next presenter, who is Amber Williams, Program Coordinator for the Special Collection Division of Nashville Public Library. And Amber is going to talk to us about her library's Community Curators program. Amber?
Hi guys. I'm gonna talk to you guys. I'm gonna talk to you guys about making the most out of your partners. And Haley and Sarah just mentioned it. They are instrumental in good programming, and so much so that that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about. So let me tell you a little bit about our library. I work for Nashville Public Library. We're here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have 21 branches throughout the city that serve a city of about 650,000 people. I work with the Special Collections Division, and we're the portion of the library that's managing the grant, and we work out of our main location, which is right in the heart of downtown. Nashville has a really large student population. There's about 9 colleges and universities in the vicinity, so we work a lot with students. And our population is also growing really fast, both domestically and internationally. Last year, roughly 14% of our population was foreign-born, and our Latino population has doubled in the last 15 years. So as these new groups are coming into the city, the library is trying to figure out ways to reach out to them and engage with them. So this is kind of a perfect fit for us. So Haley and Sarah mentioned the public library publicity machine, and so these are kind of some of the things that we are doing in-house through our traditional marketing venues. We have a sign-up sheet that we take with us anytime we're doing anything with the grants, where people can join our mailing list, and we send out an e-newsletter that updates them on things that are going on with the project. We were able to create a website for the project, which I have a link to at the end of the slide so you guys can see that. It just includes information about our upcoming events and some things from our collections that are related to the project. We've also done some fire signs in our lobbies. We have social media for the project, and we've done a couple of print things just with our upcoming events on them. But one thing that we found is that the groups we're trying to reach, Latino Americans, new immigrants, people like that, are not using the library's typical marketing venues. Sorry, a fire sign is like a digital lobby sign that flashes. We have like the TVs that change. That's a good question, Jackie. I'm sorry about that. So as we are trying to figure out how to reach these new populations, we came up with this thing. We call it Partnership by Design. And it really grew out of the last grant that we did. We were part of StoryCorps and ALA's first pilot project, StoryCorps at Your Library, and we really wanted to try to document these new groups that were here in Nashville. So we wanted to talk to new immigrants to Nashville and first-generation Americans. And so we went through all of our regular channels, planned this huge event, and we're all ready to record tons and tons of stories, and did not have the turnout that we were expecting. So we kind of had to go back to the drawing board, and we talked to some of the local organizations in town that work with these groups, community centers, immigrant rights organizations, things like that, and figured out that we needed to be reaching out in different ways. And so by changing our marketing, by empowering our partners to take responsibility for this project, we were able to have a really successful grant. And so as that one ended and we learned about LA500, we knew that we wanted to continue these relationships with our partners. It's so important to try to keep long-term relationships. So much grows out of that that you don't even know about. And so we really used our partners as a starting point instead of starting with programming. So we involved them from the very beginning, even back in grant writing. We were meeting with our partners, talking about what kinds of programming ideas they had, what things would be interesting to them, just kind of what their thoughts were on how this grant would go, also what they were doing over the next year, those kinds of things. And that really, really helps. Within our partner organizations, we identify these people that we call community curators. And these are individuals that are independently passionate about the work that we do. For example, Humanities Tennessee is one of our partners, but they are a giant organization that works throughout the state. They have their own projects that they're running. They just did a massive Southern Festival of Books. They are all over the place, and so there's no way that we could reasonably expect for the entire organization to drop everything and promote our programs. But we did get to meet two individuals within Humanities Tennessee that come from folklore and anthropology backgrounds, and so their individual interests are really aligned with the way that we tell stories and the way that we look at the past. And so anytime we have a project, we talk to them, and they know the best ways to connect with the programming that Humanities is doing, to use their marketing strategies, things like that. They really know their organizations and the groups that those organizations serve. And so these people are really essential members of the team because they know the audience so well, and they can really help you reach out to people that are new. For example, our outreach to Spanish speakers. As a special collection, we don't get a whole lot of Spanish-speaking users, and so that was one of the things that we were really struggling with, kind of how to reach those groups, how to bring our resources to them and bring them into the library. And so we just had a big brainstorming where we thought of every single place in the city that could possibly already be serving these groups. So we thought about community centers. There's two here in Nashville called Nicholls Americans and Casa de la Cultura, and they specifically serve primarily like Latin America and Mexico. And so we definitely wanted to work with them. There's business organizations like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here in town. With our large student population, we wanted to talk to students, so we reached out to an organization called Latino Achievers that's through the Y, and they work with high school students to prepare them for college. We also reached out to the Latino culture groups at local universities. Internally, we looked through the system to determine which branches were serving large Latino populations and partnered with our Southeast branch, and then media. Instead of just going straight to, I need to contact Channel 5. We went through their list of reporters and figured out who has an interest in Latino American stories, who maybe has a background in Spanish news, things like that, and targeted those people specifically. And so by casting this wide net, we were able to get a pretty great group of partners that we have been really successful doing programming with. These are our partners. You can see there on the left the two organizations that specifically serve Spanish speakers, Casa de la Cultura and Conexión Americas, but then we also partnered with several that serve Latino Americans and others, because this project is not just about telling Latino Americans about Latino American history. Like, we want to share that with everyone. We want to make sure that the whole city knows that this population is here and knows that they're contributing in all of these wonderful ways and have such a rich history here in our country. So the top two organizations are immigrant and refugee organizations. So they work with people from throughout the world that have relocated here to Nashville. We're partnering with two universities, Lipscomb and Vanderbilt, and then Humanities Tennessee and Nashville Public Television. And Those are just our official partners. We launched our project at the beginning of September and have already done programs with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Metro Nashville Public Schools, and the Tennessee Foreign Language Institute. So those official partners, there's just so much more going on than that. So we're talking about marketing, obviously. Why would I talk about partners for that long and not talk about marketing? Well, because we really use our partners to market. They are the ones that know how to reach their audience. They are the ones that know whether flyers or social media or this one bulletin board is going to be the best way to get audiences. And so we talk to our community curators and really ask them to promote from their venues that they use. And this can mean that the library has to take a back seat, and sometimes we don't get all the credit, but it helps us reach so many more people. You can see these are 3 of the tweets from our programs in September. None of them are from the library. Only one of them mentions the library, but each of these programs had over 100 people at it. And so we were so glad to be a part of these projects because they're reaching so many people. We're not only spreading the word about the project, but we're sharing library resources with them. We're telling them about the public library, and it's wonderful. This is an example of promotional material that was created by Lipscomb University. We are working with them this fall on their Collaborative Conversations series. It's a once-a-month panel that they do on a theme. And this year's theme is immigration, which is such a perfect fit for this grant for us. But this flyer was created entirely by Lipscomb's marketing people. We just gave them the 2 logos that we needed, and they did the rest. And then they put it up at their school. They reached out to their professors, used all of those wonderful university resources that Haley and Sarah mentioned, and gave us some here for at the library. We put it on our website, and they had over 100 people come to this first panel discussion, which was so wonderful. Budget. All right, so this is a really budget-friendly way of marketing. We started this kind of officially with our StoryCorps at Your Library grant. We budgeted $450 for marketing on that. We spent most of it on print material. Sometimes when you're working with partner organizations, these nonprofits, maybe they don't have as much funding for marketing, so sometimes we were, they were designing flyers and then we were printing them and then they were sending them out and they were sharing. But that ended up being a really successful program on that budget. We had 50 interviews with individuals from 26 countries. We had 2 community listening parties and over 200 people that participated in some way with the event. So we were really pleased with the way the marketing turned out on that. So much so that we only budgeted about $600 for marketing for our entire Latino Americans grant. To date, we have done 8 programs. We've had over 300 people participate in those programs, and all but one of them has been with one of our partners. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's been so successful. It's been a crazy month and a half, but we have had wonderfully successful programs, and we're really glad that this partnership model is working out. So what can you do? Really just be flexible. Casting a wide net and thinking creatively about who you can partner with is really helpful. Obviously, we can't all go back in time and involve this model from the very beginning of grant writing. We already have our partners established. We know what our programming is going to be. But if you talk to your partners and try to get their ideas on things, say, hey, I know that I had this whole program planned, but do you think that there's like little tweaks we could do to make it more appealing to your audience? Or ask them if there's, a community board or a Facebook group that they have or something that they can promote the program with as well. And if you don't feel like your partners have those audiences, then maybe reach out to some other organizations. We've still got several months of programming left. So, think about who in your community is serving the groups that you want to be talking to. Do you want to talk to Spanish speakers or students or retirees? Okay, well, who's already serving those? Talk to your local universities, the senior centers. anyone you can think of. And don't get discouraged. Building relationships with partners can be very difficult. We're all so busy, especially when you're talking with nonprofits and government organizations. You know, we're in 10,000 hats. So don't get discouraged. Just keep reaching out to people. The wider a net you cast, the more chances you'll have some people that are excited about your project, and you'll see that other people in the community are doing things that fit really naturally with what you're doing as well, and that is how we get wonderful programs. All right, here's my contact information. That's the link to our website for the project. Thanks, guys, so much for listening. I look forward to your questions.
Thanks so much, Amber. This is Sarah again from ALA's Public Programs Office. Thanks to all three of our presenters. Those were really terrific presentations, and it's so interesting to hear about what you're all doing at your different sites that are working. I'm sure that you all have some questions, so please go ahead and type those in the chat box. We do have a few minutes remaining. While you're typing, I can start us off with a question. And this is for any of you. In terms of advanced planning for marketing your programs, just wondering if you wanted to add anything about how far in advance you start your planning, or any tools or processes you use to create calendars. How deeply involved are you in the advanced planning of all of this?
I can talk about that real briefly. So one thing that we really had to understand was how our system's PR works, and that was new for me on this. Because we're such a large system, there's a very large lead time on if we want in-house print material. So I think it's something like 3 months ahead of time we need to let our PR department know. So if you do have a PR department at your organization, definitely reach out to them as soon as possible and figure out what their deadlines are and how you should be submitting things. We don't have much involvement with our partners and their marketing. A lot of what they do is kind of, within the month maybe proceeding to it, usually with like in the week or so, and they're doing social media and things like that.
We actually 100% agree with you when it comes to knowing your PR people and their restrictions. In a university, you have to get quite a bit of approval, which we did not know. And so whether that hindered our marketing efforts, we're not really sure, but we know better now. So we're starting to gather some of our marketing materials together. Really, we've just been focusing on getting the programming done. And we have just made it, because we're partnering with faculty, we have to respect their schedule. So a lot of times it's whatever they can fit into their classes or when they're available. So sometimes it's not necessarily a set plan that we have. It's just where we can fit in.
Great, thank you. April had a question, and she asked, what tips do you have about using social media to market your events?
I guess I can go. We made a hashtag for our project, hashtag NPL Estamos Aquí. If anyone wants to check it out on our website, there's a feed that was something our web team pulled together for us. It's wonderful. I don't know where they got it from, but it looks beautiful. And so we ended up actually creating project-specific social media, which is just a lot easier. when working in big institutions, it can be, there's just so much that gets covered. And so having something specific to our project was really helpful for us. And then luckily, one of my coworkers is really into social media, so she's just been going crazy with Twitter and Instagram and all the things that are not my forte.
I know for us, for our social media, we have specific people within our library who are in charge of the different social media accounts. So for us, it was very important just to make sure that we got with them and have them post things when we needed it to be posted so that they were aware that, you know, we needed to work together to get that social media stuff out there in a timely manner.
No, I'll be honest. I don't know how many people really follow the university library's Twitter or Facebook account. That's why we went so heavily with the printed materials. But I do think that the public library has a really great following on social media. So if you're partnering with the public library and your university, I would rely heavily on the public library's social media.
Sherilyn had a question in the chat box, and Amber, this might be a follow-up question for you. She said, can you please give some examples of the project-specific social media that you talked about?
Sure. So we have, independent of, like, the library has Twitter and Facebook and all of that, but we have, like, a Samosaki, which is, Samosaki is the name of our program series. So we have a Facebook for it, an Instagram, and a Twitter, and we've been using those and then, you know, sharing them to our library Facebook, but then also sharing them with our partners and tagging our partners in tweets or tweeting at partners. I don't Twitter, so I don't know the right words for that. And we're using that feed on the website has been really helpful because it's really interactive. It's just if you click the hashtag on there, I don't know a better way to show you guys on here, but if you click it, it pulls from Instagram and Twitter and kind of shares all of the things that have been going on. We've been live tweeting some events. There's pictures on there, and hopefully when people are going to our website, they're seeing that. We have been running Google Analytics to kind of see who's been going there, and we've got some great numbers over the past few months, so that's been really helpful.
Great, thank you. I think the questions seem to be winding down. So I would like to thank our presenters again for volunteering to do this today. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your ideas. Again, this webinar has been recorded, and it will be available on the Latino Americans website under For Grantees and Online Learning. So please feel free to watch it again, share it with your colleagues, share it with your partners. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, you can always email us at publicprograms@ala.org. We are very eager to hear your thoughts, and I thank you again for joining us.